Hey, what's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Miami Heat getting themselves a much needed win over the Cleveland Cavaliers tonight as they beat them 119-115. Wouldn't you know it? Another tight game. But this one, was a big turnaround for Miami. They really needed to dig in and get this one. As look, they're fighting for their as they're supposed to say, their competitive lives after the game, really trying to establish themselves and get into one of those defined playoff spots. And needed every second of it tonight. But really, what a performance it was tonight by Jimmy Butler, Jim VP all the way. This guy has been playing out of his mind, efficient as hell tonight. 33 points. 12 of 16, 8 of 9 from the free throw line. He's just been a monster, especially since the All-Star break. Jimmy Butler, since the All-Star break, is averaging 25 points a game on 65% shooting. Dude's been amazing. He's been ridiculous. Doesn't miss. And you got Eric Spoelstra just shouting at him, get him open, get him open, get him open. Get him open, you get him to that sweet spot that he's got that he works on so well with that mid-range jump shot. And he knows his comfort zones and really sticks it in the Cavaliers to end things. Then gets the little intentional foul on Donovan Mitchell, which got a little dicey there. A hell of an intentional miss by Spida. He was missing plenty in the second half after having a incredible first half where he was lighting it up, which you probably figured was coming after the kind of performance that he had in the first game of this little 2-game set. You figure that Spida was probably going to bounce back in a big way, which he did. But Jimmy, this is not a typical thing where Miami likes to foul up 3. But other situations this year, they figured they try something out there. They did. And you end up putting Robin Lopez, with crazy hair, in there. And then Kevin Love, who doesn't really close out games. He's there for start of the first, start of the third. Comes in the fourth quarter. He doesn't play too much. It's usually, Gabe. It's usually Jimmy, Tyler, Bam, Caleb Martin, who we'll get to in a second. And, tonight it was Max Strus. Sometimes it's Victor Oladipo, but it's not typically been Kevin Love. But he got a monster block out on Robin Lopez to get that rebound or tip or get him out of the way to clear the way for the Heat to get that rebound. Jimmy gets fouled, ices the game. That's all she wrote. And Miami was able to get themselves a much needed win tonight. But the efficiency that Jimmy Butler is playing with is insane, dude. This guy has just such a feel for where he is effective on the court. People may look at him and they may say it's not the prettiest, it's not the most athletic thing in the world. I don't know, man. I really enjoy watching Jimmy Butler play basketball on so many levels. First of all, he's such a master of his spots and what he's good at. But I also just feel like his read on things in the game, the way that he can manipulate things, the way that he can get into passing lanes, the way that he can generate points off of turnovers. What a great defender he is. What a strong rebounder he can be. The way he sets up his teammates. This guy really does have it all. And this hasn't been the prettiest Heat season for sure. But this guy's greatness, I do feel like, does continue to go undetected. And it is always, it kind of resurfaces on everybody once the playoffs hit because he, gets that national TV exposure. There's really nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. You got to talk about it a little bit because he's usually one of the best playoff players in the league. But he's done this a couple times now in his Heat career where he's really even needed to step up a little bit more, especially when there's been some roster deficiencies or some things aren't going quite the right way or they have to find different ways to win, which this has been a Heat season where they've had to find different ways to win because the shooting hasn't been there. Though it was tonight. Big nights from Tyler Hero, who had some big onions threes. Max Strus had a nice night from downtown. Lord knows he needed that one for sure. So it was good to get the shooting tonight. It definitely buoyed some things. It definitely helped because the Heat were still gave up a lot of points off turnovers tonight. We're doubled up by Cleveland in that regard. But they were able to get the shooting tonight, and that was definitely a huge thing for them to guide their way to this victory and get themselves there. But I hope Heat fans appreciate with Jimmy the greatness that he has, because I do feel like even I could be guilty of, man, we focus so much on Tyler, man, we focus so much on the development of Bam Adebayo, that you don't appreciate what this man does for you on a nightly basis. It goes undetected. It is so sophisticated with a slash of like brooding, bully ball, but also there's like a grace of knowing his spots too. Like, it's just such a nice blend. And I just think that it's one of the least talked about things amongst Heat fans all year, is just how good this guy is, because half the time it feels like we could be bitching about, oh, Jimmy's missing a lot of games, you're grumbling about this. That guy works his ass off and, has delivered a lot so far in his Heat tenure. And it's games like tonight where you're just like, man, what this guy is able to do, the kind of zone that he's in right now, you do hope that the guys around him can step up a little bit more in this avenue, because he's on a special kind of efficient run right now with what he's able to do, and the type of accuracy that he's delivering this to get these kind of performances is just is really, really a marvel. And Caleb Martin, by the way, also just a nice night tonight. Donovan Mitchell was lighting the Heat up like a Christmas tree in the first half, and they got a really, really nice team effort to slow things down there. But Caleb, I thought, brought a lot of that energy, brought a lot of that fire in the second half of this game. Bam, able to get multiple steals in this game as well to deter some things. So, they needed this one in a bad way for sure. No Darius Garland today for Cleveland. They did lose Jared Allen to an eye poke in the midst of it, so they were also shorthanded. You really had to pull this one out. You're going now to Orlando, and the big news on this one is it seems like we're going to get the debut. We are going to get the return of Kyle Lowry after missing, about 15 games from this knee injury. And, you look tonight and you see, Gabe Vincent's been struggling with his shot a little bit. So this may be a good time to infuse Kyle, see what he can bring to the table, how this starting lineup is going to blend with everybody. You got a couple of high IQ vets with him and Kevin Love in the starting lineup there, alongside your core with Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler. So while he was in a place when he left where it felt like his role was being greatly diminished, in a way, I feel like Kyle's coming in a spot where, look, you got not too many games left on the year. What are we talking? We got 14 games left on the season. You take these 14 games, and if Kyle Lowry, you could take him to a spot where, if he can harness and get back, if he's feeling healthy enough to give you something, then you maybe put Gabe in a spot where, he could be a real pain in the ass defensively and focus all his effort on that, rather than having to be this combo guard running the offense. Maybe he's got his shot, maybe he doesn't. Those guys can all, you go to a spot where you're been over-reliant, and I feel like, Max and Gabe have been taking a lot of criticism, but now they can go into a role where they really should be better settled. You're putting them in spark plug and play, situational, where can they make an impact, and go balls to the wall, all effort. Because I do think with Gabe, you're really the only true point guard for so many games on this roster, and you're getting into foul trouble in certain games. Like, I just don't think you can play as free as maybe he could if he was coming off the bench. And so this is definitely going to be an interesting watch for Heat fans, because in a way, maybe they get a healthier, resurgent Kyle Lowry. I don't think a lot of Heat fans have a ton of faith in it, but I think you have to in this regard. Like, let's see if this can kind of blend together and buoy your bench even more and make this Heat team even deeper as they try and wind down these last games before they get into the postseason. So that'll definitely be an interesting thing to check out on what they're going to get from Kyle coming up against the Orlando Magic in a back-to-back. And then they come back for a couple more at home against Utah and Memphis.